Right. Okay. Here we go. We got to try and do a full hour of like on it. So
And okay,
interview mode.
we're timed at 1 hour 2 minutes, so we'll see
'Kay.
where we end up.
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Ready? Ready?
Nope.
Set.
Yep.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Smith. I'm a former congressional candidate from Washington State's 9th Congressional District, and I will be your host for today's very first maiden voyage of our flagship podcast, the Better Left Podcast. Yay! And I'm joined today by Bill Ryan, by Cassidy Butler, by Troy Hewitt, and by our amazing producer team, Andres and Jay. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
So we're going to get started with our very first segment, and it is called What the Shit?
What the shit?
What the Shit?
What the shit?
And that is where we're going to talk about some stories that made all of us this week go, what the shit? And then we're going to follow that up with some a big news breakdown where we talk about some of the biggest stories that happened last week. And then we are going to get into our discussion segment where we talk a little bit about the campaign and how we changed as people and how we changed as parts of the community. And then you're going to get to watch or listen to a very, very fun closer where we are going to try and use magnetic connects to recreate the current platform of Democratic primary presidential candidates.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Do we have enough magnets?
I don't think there's nearly enough magnets for that.
No.
So let's get started here with what the shit?
What the shit?
What the shit? So today I came across, not even today, I've been harboring this story for a long time. There was a burglar that was hiding out in an Oregon bathroom.
Burglar, you
So
say?
a burglar in Washington County, Oregon, state troopers and detectives showed up with their canine unit because they heard some pounding on a door, and it was over and over again. It was repeated pounding, and they're like, "Come out with your hands up!" And they didn't get a response. So they kicked the door down, and their perpetrator was a Roomba.
Oh, the robots are
All
taking
that
over.
manpower because Skynet's taking over.
Can we talk about that just for a little bit? I bought a Roomba for one reason.
To commit crimes.
To be,
Yeah.
yes, to burgle from my neighbors.
To burgle.
Just their dust and skin and hair.
Yes,
Oh,
DJ
yeah.
Roomba. Yes,
Yeah,
anyone?
yes, yeah.
I just kind of want to. What is a Roomba?
It's a little
Oh,
robot
Bill.
vacuum.
Oh my God, you're missing out.
Bill, you
It's gonna
live a
change your
very
life is what
focused
it is.
life, and I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like a robot vacuum that turns on when you're away.
I need you to YouTube at some point tonight cats riding Roombas.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
See, Corn completes me because that's why I bought a Roomba.
Yeah, for Teej. Yeah.
I wanted to,
Yeah.
but he will have nothing to do with it. I
Oh.
also
Now-
follow up that Google search with, or that YouTube search with dog poop Roomba.
Wait, what?
Okay.
No, it's
I
the
don't know about
opposite
that
of the
one.
cleaned up crime scene.
Basically just a Roomba that spread poop all throughout the living room. And yeah, spun it out.
That is also what I do when I vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vacuum's supposed to suck, not
So
spin.
I actually have a question though. At what point does someone look at their vacuum and say, "This is not doing it anymore. I need something that I can turn on that just roams around my."
Oh,
No,
Bill.
it turns on itself. It
Yeah.
parks itself, it charges, and then it.
Yeah, it like finds its little docking station
Yeah.
where it can charge, and then when you're gone, you can preset it so it vacuums. Jay and I bought an off-brand one from Amazon. We just called it Jeff, and he just wanted
Oh,
to
Jeff.
He tried to commit seppuku by taking off over the stairs.
It's not a
though,
Roomba,
so-
it's an Oomba.
a Romba.
Well, and-
Roomba.
Bill, you have to remember that like we live in America where everyone is very lazy. Also,
I'll cop.
you know, our backs hurt.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, having this robot friend to clean our homes, I'm
Pretty
here
For me,
it.
it's more
Yeah.
like just the non-stop hair.
right.
Same.
I
Yeah.
have hair from guessed dogs. I have hair
I'm
from
always
my cat.
shedding.
You're
Yeah.
shedding. Sarah's
I'm
shedding.
blonde now, so
Bill,
we'll know.
you walked into this house tonight with a full head of hair.
I've shed a lot.
Yeah.
For those who don't get the visual effect, Bill is a very classy, big, bald man.
Well, and I have been for about 20 minutes.
yeah, until he walked through the front door and then he just shook all of his hair off. And my Roomba was like, choking on it. And yeah. this is
What
awful.
about you, Troy? What made you stop and go, what the shit?
Well, you know, my what the shit is how poorly we are treating Ilhan Omar.
Yes,
I
and
am-
we are definitely going to get into that during our big news breakdown.
And
But-
that's why I was like, I know that we're talking
Yeah.
about it, but very specifically, I'm hoping that I'm not stealing from the future joy, but the idea that people in her own party would abandon her. Essentially leave her hanging with very weak statements of support, very sort of blanket appeals to civility.
That's for you, Chuck and Nancy, by the way.
Yeah.
Hat tip Chuck and Nancy. Hat tip Adam, who's repping the 9th district, who's he's going to be a 24-year incumbent who I ran against, who hasn't made any kind of statement of support for Elon.
Hard to do that when she's against everything he's been voting for 20 years.
Yeah.
True that. Absolutely true that. And also hard to do that when you don't really take a stand.
Yeah,
Right,
but I
never,
want to make sure we
right?
get into that during our big news breakdown where we have more time to talk about it.
Yes.
So I guess that turns us to Jay. Jay's our one of our.
Jay's got a good one.
Jay's our executive producer for tonight, and he's also my former campaign manager and my spouse and partner. So Jay, what is your what the shit for today?
So as you all know, I play video games.
What?
What?
Ugh.
It's a thing, and so I'm very invested in that. Even though I'm not on camera right now, here's the thing that really bothered me. That made me say, "What the shit?" We all remember Mr. Bobby Kotick laid off about 800.
He's the
people.
CEO of Activision. For everyone that doesn't know,
Yeah,
they're
I'm
a
like,
gaming
I don't
company.
know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the CEO of Activision Blizzard. He laid off about 800 people this last year, even though they posted record profits.
Yep.
Ooh.
And guess what else they did? They paid zero taxes.
Wow, that's you know what that deserves.
They're in a long list of
That deserves
companies
one
that
of
don't pay
these.
taxes. That's
Does it?
That's that you didn't pay any taxes, and we're living in this capitalist dystopian nightmare future.
We've done
That's
it.
what that one is for. We did it, everybody.
Hip hip hooray!
Everybody wave your shackles.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Now, our co-host Troy actually comes out of the video game community, and
I
not in
do?
the sense that he just plays games. He also helps community build and works for gaming companies and helps develop video games. So he's
Worked very closely with Blizzard. and
intimately
some-
acquainted
yeah,
here.
yeah, and have had friends who lost their jobs.
Yep.
And it is shocking to me that this can be our reality.
Yeah.
It is stunning to me. All of these people, you know, the artists, the game devs, the designers, they're amazing. The people that they let go are the creatives, the community managers, the communications people
Yep.
who have helped build the empire that is back to Blizzard.
Yeah.
And they're flushed.
And if you think creative folks are sacrificable, because we get that impression a lot with the arts, we think that it's sacrificable. We had to enlist a good friend of mine, Jorge Saldana. He's an artist out of Puerto Rico, and we had to ask him to come and do our logo because none of us in a room full of what are we, 6 people?
Yeah.
Nobody has any artistic talent.
No.
So the second you take for granted your creative people, go ahead and try to draw whatever it is the logo that you're thinking of for your future company, and
Absolutely.
you'll realize the value of creative work.
Or if you are somebody who is, you are a creative and you can sit down and do that stuff, imagine trying to translate that skill into communicating to a million gamers who want you to die in a fire.
Yeah.
And one point I'd also make to anyone who is listening to this and maybe working at Microsoft, Amazon, or any other major corporation, and you think
Devil's trifecta.
right, and you think that your skill set will save you when the chopping block comes down, it won't. This is how business operates. This is how monopoly capitalism operates. You have a very few small number of owners who are always looking to make profits, and the easiest way to do that is to cut labor.
Yep.
Now, here's the funny thing. This is highly technologically educated labor.
Yeah.
Right now, the
Yup.
unskilled labor in this country, between I'd say 10 to 15 million of them, is they have a status as what's called not in the labor force, no longer in the labor force, which means they have been out of work and not searching for work.
So they've, gotcha.
So they're not on the
So
unemployment
they're not
list.
counted
Right.
as
Yep.
unemployed.
They're invisible people.
Yep.
They're invisible people. So this is a big issue. So this covers on media consolidation in the video gaming industry, but
Yeah.
it's still media, and
yeah.
and labor rights.
Yeah.
Labor rights.
So we're seeing the very same thing in video games as you see across all entertainment media, a consolidation, a further sort of there's one company that rules them all,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
very few get away.
Yep. And I mean, their CEO, Bobby Kotick, is posting $28 million a year in his salary, but he couldn't
Didn't he
manage
get a
to keep.
bonus?
Yeah, and he got a bonus, and he, I think it was a couple million, but it's pocket.
Just a cup.
Just a couple million.
Hey,
a couple mil.
hey, job creator, guys.
Oh, sorry.
Job- job creator guy.
My bad. I forgot about that. I didn't. Now
Took
that
it
you put it like
down.
that, Bill, I still think we should employ AOC's marginal tax rate on his earnings over $10 million.
Well, I'm with you.
Yeah, but I mean, so that's a pretty good what the shit. That made me kind of scream and try to tear pieces of my hair. That's why my hair is blonde now. It's actually the stress from this Activision thing.
It bleached you out.
It bleached me out.
Yeah, bleached you right
Yes.
out. I do want to
Yeah.
add one little piece to this, and that is there is a growing movement, a burgeoning, strong movement of unionization for video game workers.
Whoop, whoop.
And we may know a couple people.
As
I
there,
didn't
as
know
there
that
should be, and there should also be strong movements of unionization in every
Everywhere.
single sector.
Oh Lord,
everywhere.
it's coming for your sector.
Let me-
And if you think it's not,
Right,
ooh,
and
buckle up.
and
Yeah.
just one more kind of piece of evidence to buttress that is, so there's this really kind of famous economist, used to be a chairman of the Fed, Paul Volcker. He's come out very publicly and said that we must repoliticize every aspect of the economy, and essentially all he's saying when he says that is labor needs a seat at the table.
Yep.
Right.
And it's not just labor. It's not just unskilled labor. It's
Mm-hmm.
skilled labor. But let me tell you something.
everybody.
Let me tell you something. In this country, there's a crisis of unskilled labor.
Yep.
Yes.
And that crisis is, I think, one manifestation of that crisis shows itself up in the 50,000 50,000 people who died last year from opioid deaths.
Yep.
Yes.
Part of that crisis shows up in that not in the labor force number. There's between 8 and probably 15 million folks between, it's called the prime age working age, between 15 and 64 who are out of the workforce. So you can look at data point after data point and see.
Oh,
that-
yeah.
that-
Yeah.
And it exists. And like, this is one that we want to make sure we're talking about. I know this is going to come up at a later topic because
For
we have a
sure.
bunch of labor folks that
Yeah.
we've already selected to be guests on the pod
They're
for
coming.
later dates, but they are a coming.
Yep.
So that moves us on to Cassidy.
Yeah.
Corn. Oh, so Cassidy's
yeah.
nickname is Corn.
My
and that's just what we're
excuse
gonna
me.
call her
My
forever.
name is
Her name
Corn.
is Corn.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. So
it's kinda weird that
that's
you
just what
called me
she's gonna
Cassidy.
be for.
I thought I
know,
was
it
like,
feels
who's
weird
that?
in my mouth to say that. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah, right.
like
Bad
it.
mouth
But
feel.
corn
Don't
just
like
feels
it.
so good.
It just feels
It
way
does.
better.
Yeah, it
That's
does.
a story. We'll
sweet.
talk about it at some point. But or we'll just
so
never tell you.
so my what the shit related to Troy's, related to our big news breakdown. So let's just kind of go into that. For Ilhan Omar, a lot of people, like we were saying, they haven't spoken out. One that really made me say what the shit and what he did speak out about was Barack Obama. So if y'all haven't heard, Tiger Woods won something.
I literally asked you.
Yeah.
I was asking y'all. I was like, why am I seeing Tiger Woods everywhere?
I had no idea. I forgot about Tiger Woods.
I
And I know
don't
that's
care
horrible.
about
I just
Tiger
don't watch
Woods.
golf.
You had
I
to
don't
explain
care
like
about golf.
he did some kind of.
He won his first championship.
I just
title in
remember the
first
He won
Thanksgiving.
last 10
something.
years or something.
I just will never forget the Thanksgiving footage of Elin Nordgren chasing him down with the car while he's running as away from their estate.
beautiful.
I will never forget. It's
yeah.
like seared in my brain for some reason.
He needed to just I mean,
So, okay, Obama tweeted, "Congratulations, Tiger. To come back and win the Masters after all the highs and lows is a testament to excellence, grit, and determination." Yet he has not spoken out about all of the criticism that Ilhan has been getting. And I think what really irritates me about it is that him, of all people,
who suffered the same
Yes,
sort of
with the
smears and.
stigmatization.
Yep.
Like, remember when you were born in Kenya, Obama? Like, let's go back to that. Ilhan is struggling with that, right now.
Right.
I think he's a Muslim. I'm uncomfortable with him.
Yeah.
I got something to say about Obama. So you know, I watch the Pod Save guys every once in a while when I have to, and
you don't
because
like them gents.
No, not really. And one thing about Obama that they said about him is he hates to be called aloof, right? And he probably
Aloof, like as a
aloof.
nickname or as the personality feature of
As-
aloofness?
as in, like, he is an aloof person.
Okay.
And I think that one reason he probably dislikes that is because he is an aloof person.
Probably.
And you know, like, he his inability to take a stand on issue after issue after issue during his presidency.
Dude, the Dakota Access Pipeline shit, like, that made me so
said-
angry that he took so long to do anything, and then when he did, it was like, meh.
He said so many words without saying
Yeah.
anything for like
Masterful,
8 years.
masterful.
It
Yo,
really was masterful.
If you want to see him redo this, you can see this almost real time. Last week. Oh, so last week.
Bill's on fire.
Within the last few days, Barack Obama was in, I think, Germany. And, okay, just for context, and just so we all know now that Russia isn't the only country that meddles in other people's elections.
What?
I know,
right?
Shock of
Shock and awe.
So he was over talking to a bunch of young organizers, so-called, I don't know exactly. who he was
Youths.
talking- Yeah, the youths. The youths.
The
He
youths.
talked to the youths. He
What
thought,
the
hey,
youth?
hey. Okay, so
Can you talk like that more often?
yeah, so he's talking to the youths, and he is for almost an hour saying virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And you can also tell that he is clearly shaken because when he says things like, I was working, I worked a lot nonstop. You almost want to, you could see in his pause, in his mind, he's like, I was working nonstop, and then Trump came along. And
Oh no.
now it's only, I mean, do I even really believe what I just told these young people?
Poor little baby.
Clearly he
mama.
doesn't. Clearly he
Watch
doesn't.
the inner monologue come
Yeah,
out. Oh.
because
I'll have
he-
to watch it. I'd like to see that.
Well,
Yeah. Me too.
and because he's in the heart of European politics a month and a half or a month and a few days before the European Union elections, and he's he's ostensibly on the surface it's public service,
Right,
et cetera,
right.
et cetera. He's there with the Obama Foundation, who
Yeah,
takes money
yeah.
from Boeing, from Goldman Sachs, from the biggest corporations in America.
Yeah.
What he's doing is he's over there trying to lay the roots of the Obama Foundation into Europe, where they can do private partnerships over there.
Yeah.
And that's almost certainly what he's doing. And so he can probably get updates or talk to folks that he's
Yeah.
familiar with from his time in office.
Yep.
But again, the pretext is kind of, save the world shit. The reality, he's in
a good
Europe a
cover
month.
to-
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
cover to put on it. But that's a good what the shit. And it leads us right into
Yeah.
our big news breakdown. Big news breakdown. Big news breakdown. Eventually we'll come up with a
Bum,
soundbite for that.
Breakdown. Yeah, we'll have
Big
some
news
sound effects.
breakdown.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll sing it.
Big news
make
breakdown.
a little ditty. I love it. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's our sound bit.
I'm
So,
feeling it.
I mean, we're gonna just keep going with this discussion because this is all part of it. The controversy surrounding Ilhan Omar. I mean, she made comments about 9/11, and everyone is either for or against her commentary on it.
Have you
and-
seen?
But it's all out of
anybody-
context and everything. It's just so jacked. And was it Dan Crenshaw? And thank you, Dan Crenshaw, for your service as a military veteran. But come on, man. Do your job and stop taking quotes knowingly out of context
This is
and trying
the
to
eye
demonize
patch
a
guy?
fellow representative, dude. Come on.
The eye patch guy?
Yeah.
All right, but I want to just step back a little bit. Yeah, good for him. I salute you in a way that you will see me.
Thank you for your continued service. We appreciate it. We
It-
respect
but
it.
you know,
Thank
you don't,
But
you don't
I
have
wanna
to
say
do that though. If he's an asshole, he's an asshole.
Well, I do.
And
really-
thank you for Bill's
I really
service,
said
right?
I will salute
Bill
you in a way
also
that will
served.
see it, to the eye that you can see, I guess. Are you supposed to salute? I don't know. Here's what I'm saying. I don't know about that guy. I don't want to know about that guy. I mean, I want to know about him. Ilhan Omar, as a representative, is tough as nails.
Hell yeah, she is.
Speaking her truth, living it, doing it, and getting death threats because the president of the United States is
Being a Somali American woman who came out of refugee camps, who is now a sitting representative and actively wears a hijab to Congress.
good for her. You know
Oh.
what? And what a ridiculous world we live in that we have to be like, hooray!
Right.
And also,
Hooray
now
for
she's-
being yourself.
and also her comments that blew this whole thing up, which, by the way, a matter of time, racists. She was reasonable.
Yeah,
She
Right.
she always is.
said what she had to say was the least bombastic thing that has ever come out of that body of government. Like,
Yes.
it was appropriate. It was
Better or
not
worse
anti-Semitic.
Better or worse than grabbing him by the pussy? That's what I want to know.
Seriously, I honestly think when you think about it like that, it is ridiculous that we're even having to have this conversation, and here she is suffering death threats.
Well, and so here's the thing. Well, you have to kind of, one way to look at Ilhan Omar is to look at her as the personification of the anti-war machine.
Yeah.
So when Waleed Shahid goes on the Sunday morning talk shows yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, we've got, AOC and Ilhan have this war machine coming at them at 200 miles an hour." What a lot of people seem to forget sometimes is that the U.S. has an active duty military that are dropping bombs in multiple countries and running missions in multiple countries at any given time. There are uniformed soldiers or paid mercenaries that are killing on behalf of the flag. So Ilhan Omar has, I think, been on the receiving end of that type of violence, right?
Yeah.
And
Firsthand
comes
receiving
from
end,
that-
has witnessed
yeah.
it
Right.
growing
Right.
up as a child.
and we're in the context where it's 2019. We have intelligence agencies that are left over from the Cold War that don't really serve the same function now that they have historically and need to be reformed.
But probably suck up way more of the resources than they did when they were first created.
Right. We have we're 17 plus years into this war on terror, which is meandering and has been for over a decade now. Most people, I know people who are, still in service, and I'm telling you, these people don't believe in this. It's not everybody.
That's a left and right issue, is getting us out of these wars, because there's no definition, there's no clear goal, there's no clear measure of progress. They're like, we're doing better, and it's like, but we can't see that.
We're
We
just
just see
mired
the
in this.
greatest war budget we've ever seen, the Pentagon asking for more money, but not disclosing why or how they came to these figures. And that's actually one thing that Adam Smith did that I do agree with him on. So Rep Smith actually went out there and he said, we have no idea how the Pentagon is getting these numbers. I want to know how they're coming up with them. And I'm like, thank you for finally asking the question.
Could we do an
have
audit?
Could we do the audit we've been waiting 3 years for?
Well, I got another.
We audit every other.
Everybody else.
Everybody else gets
Hey,
an audit.
I got one data point. I just want one data point because I've looked at this. I've tried to dig into this for years because I was always curious when I went into the military because, I grew up poor from a poor area, and I went in mainly because of economic reasons, and the kind of nationalist stuff was a little bit secondary, but still there, from the Midwest, right? So you kind of grow up,
You
really
kinda
I want to
Big
talk about it on a
Ten.
later
real-
episode because I
real
have feelings about
patriotic,
that.
and there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that, right?
No, there really isn't. And I would say that the four of us, I was going to say the three of us, I'm not sure who I was excluding. I think I was excluding myself, but we're patriots.
Of course.
We love America. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, we wouldn't be breaking our backs if we didn't love this
Anyway,
country.
sorry. Go on, Patriot Bill.
What's your data point? Data point
Oh
Bill.
yeah,
What's your
because
new
I
name?
forgot for a
Yeah,
second.
you're like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
I was like, data point, okay. So, no, but what I'd like to know is, because this is honest, I kind of believe this sometimes. I feel like the war on terror is little more than our poor going to all across the world to fight the poor of the world because essentially what the war on terrorism is it is a market carving out mechanism in order for multinational corporations in order to gain footing in other
and
nations.
the military-industrial complex to spread its influence.
And Ilhan Omar, everything that's going on with Ilhan Omar, that's all part of this. It's if you think things aren't connected, like I love I'll get into it at some point, or I'll make Jay get into it, the philosophical concept of fractals, because it's all connected. It's all there's all parts. It's all connected. And if you think it's not, like, man,
we'll save that for our DMT episode.
I know, right? We're gonna have to do like a full breakdown on that, but it is all related. And I mean, it all circles back to Ilhan Omar being crucified in the media right now.
Well,
Right.
you know from you might or might not know it, but Livy was a Greek historian, I think. And he wrote history. I was listening to audiobooks a few years ago, and one point they brought up. This was before the Rome was what Rome became.
Yeah.
This was as these kind of
What, like Fun Rome, or because Fun Rome was like on the decline.
yeah.
I'm just wondering. Yeah.
No, this is like
Fun
probably.
Rome was when we were just
I'm thinking this is probably
collapsing.
so. Rome that everyone knows would have been around, the
Roman times.
100, yeah, 100
Times were
BC,
Rome.
yeah, 100 BC to 180 or something is like the
Yeah.
peak, you know.
Yeah.
And but what he was writing was like the formation period, and what would happen is he's like, oh, as these towns, you know, they go through this period of expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, and as they would expand, it would almost be like clockwork. The internals would rot. You'd have to devote resources to mending the internals, and then they would quickly
It's just
get.
that we've
Yeah.
had a
Boom,
roadmap
boom,
to
History is a
boom,
flat circle.
But now here we are
Thanks, True
in
Detective.
2019 with 7 billion people on the planet, all this technology, most of it brought to us by oil, but lo and behold, now we've got to get off of oil.
Yep.
And that also ties into the war on
It
terror.
all circles back together. But I mean, speaking of history being a flat circle, someone else has resurfaced for the second half of our big news breakdown. Mr. Whistleblower Julian Assange was arrested last
Where
week.
you at on that, folks?
Oh man, I'm just gonna be brutally honest,
Do
and I'm
it.
sure this is not gonna win me any friends, but I
I'll
have
be a
really complicated feelings about it because I believe in protecting whistleblowers. I believe that as long as nobody's endangered, as long as they're not endangering the lives of people serving overseas, people that are here back home, that whistleblowers need to be protected at all costs. I whistleblew for a company I previously worked for. I'll talk about that on probably the.
It was a
next episode.
whistleblowing company.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I literally blew physical whistles at my company.
They were paid to blow whistles.
But I mean, I believe in whistleblower protections. My reasons, I'm just going to say it. I don't like Julian Assange, but I don't like him, not because he's a whistleblower, but I don't like him because he kind of turned into a misogynist D-bag, and he's been aligning himself with Putin. He's been aligning himself with Bolsonaro. He's been aligning himself with the alt-right. That is why I do not like him. I
Yeah.
do not like him because of the views he espouses. And let's be real, he didn't whistleblow because of the goodness of his heart. Like when Chelsea Manning whistleblew, she whistleblew because she really
Right.
firmly believed that she was doing the right thing. I don't think she deserves to be in prison at all.
No.
I believe she does. She
No,
shouldn't be
that
compelled.
is really-
She should be released
Well,
immediately.
she surely shouldn't be trapped in
No.
isolated
Isolation. Oh my God, that's so inhuman,
I think
but
she has
that's-
been, but it was like 28 days.
Yeah,
in,
it's ridiculous. And she served more time for whistleblowing than is necessary for that's more than the maximum that they're supposed to be giving to whistleblowers.
But
it's
they want to
ridiculous.
give, yeah, they want to
But
really,
they're trying
really
to,
punish
they
her.
Right.
really want to punish, because let's be real, it's not just about her being a whistleblower, it's about her being
about being
trans.
trans, yeah.
That's what it is. But
I-
I fully support her, but like when Julian Assange was arrested in England, first of all, what are you thinking? You're going to England? You are a wanted international criminal.
I don't even know.
What are you doing?
So they drug him out of the consulate, and
Yeah, he
yeah,
was,
the-
or some. It was something like I didn't read about the details about the arrest itself. I've had some muggle job things going on that have
right. Ugh,
made it hard to
hate
keep track of
that.
everything. But
So he was in the Ecuadorian embassy
Yes,
for
it's
many
Ecuador.
A long
for
time,
many
yeah.
years.
With many complaints
Yeah.
about bodily odors and
Well, and I think one thing that had happened is that the Ecuador had recently, within the last couple of years, had an election that allowed in the defeat of the president who was covering for Assange. So once that election pool came through against Assange's interests, it was kind of a matter of time from that moment until this moment. And there's been a lot of legal maneuvers
Yeah.
behind the scenes that have been used to lead up to
Yeah.
him
that's the
being
thing I'm really
extradited.
interested in the behind. So Assange as a person at the beginning of all of this, I was rooting
I
for
him.
I was like,
that's
that's
hell yeah.
great. Like expose it all.
Stick it to the man.
And then it got weird, right?
Yeah, and then he started being like, women should be in the kitchen, and I'm
Okay,
like,
but-
oh boy.
But
And
I just want to say this piece, and then I'll shut up about it. But he got weird, and now we are spending time with news stories like Assange smeared feces in the Ecuadorian embassy. I don't have time for that nonsense.
Nope.
Get that out of my headlines.
No,
Like
I-
that should not be trending on Twitter, or it shouldn't be a
It's
thing
weird.
that pops up on news. Like
Yeah.
I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
Get me to the real world shit. Like I don't
Yeah.
have time for this.
Right. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but so from what he got arrested for specifically was that he pressed his sources to continue to steal information.
After
Is that
they
what it-
struggled with trying to find ways to get something to stick because it would catch other journalists, you know, like that was the Obama administration, and
Yeah.
then yeah,
They're trying to breadcrumb other journalists to also basically self-incriminate.
Yeah, so Glenn Greenwald wrote an article about this, and he's just kind of in the first couple paragraphs hits on what you just hit on, Troy, which was that the first fact or he says the first crucial fact about the indictment is that the key allegation that Assange did not merely receive classified documents from Chelsea Manning, but tried to help her crack a password in order to cover her tracks. It's not new.
Yeah,
So-
it's
Right.
nothing new.
No.
Yeah.
This is all
Yes.
old stuff. But like he's back in our headlines again, so it's kind of crazy.
Well, so-
Well, yeah, but the backlash too.
The,
I mean,
the
you've got
biggest, but one of the
hackers.
biggest reasons that Assange is, or one of the most consequential reasons of this Assange issue, has to do with the First Amendment. So
Yeah.
right
Yep.
now, there are, I would argue, cultural attempts to redefine free speech
Yeah.
taking place on the right. This
Yeah.
is why you wind up with Jack at Twitter on Joe Rogan with the
Yeah.
legal counsel.
Yeah.
Rather than going through the courts, we're going to Rogan now, which is a sign of like what's
the
going on.
hell's
That-
happened
actually,
here?
that's a what the shit.
We're going to the,
That is a what the
right?
shit.
We're going to the court of public opinion instead of actual court.
We're going to Joe Rogan. The last time I ever knew he was on a show was like women naked jumping on trampolines or something.
Well, so there's
that's the
that.
thing he did.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's this other thing of just like WikiLeaks being basically a news organization,
Right.
And it's problematic to go after them the way they're going after. There are many people I think who do believe that the federal government is doing this right now to try to attack free speech.
Yeah,
Right. And
it's
so that's
possible.
the thing. Is Julian Assange maybe a weird dude or has like some
But
not
it's
great
bigger than that.
opinions?
And bad
Yeah.
hygiene
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
But this is bigger than him, and I am fully aware of that.
Yeah, like
Yeah, he's a creep.
yeah. No, and not to say I don't care about that, but when it comes to specifically like what we are dealing with, like that really does
Yeah,
and
you have
matter.
to examine it as separate things. So there's the person Julian Assange, who's a misogynist, who allies with the
yucky
alt
and-
right,
yeah.
yucky. But there's also this question of free speech, which I do support him in his fight for free speech. But I want to. That sounds like a good segue because we're right about on time for our discussion segment, which we will also get a sound bit for.
We don't need music.
So we're keeping it a little easy because I know we kind of hit everybody with a lot for our big news breakdown, but we're gonna kind of keep it a little bit light and short, I think, on the discussion today. So I just want to ask some folks. So everyone that's in this room right now, I have been blessed for the last 2 years to at least have met within the last 2 years during the course of the Sarah Smith campaign in 2018. And Sarah Smith, that is me.
You're Sarah.
I'm
Hi.
Sarah. I'm the Sarah Smith. And every person here, we've talked about it ad nauseum in our own personal time, very weepily over some wine.
Right, yeah.
Many, many moons we've done this.
Processing and, yeah.
Yep, many times we have many nights we've spent talking about these last two questions. So I kind of want to round table this off, and instead of a topic, I want you guys to share just real quick. I just have two questions about the campaign itself. What did the campaign help you realize about yourself? What did it change about you? And then how did it help change your perspective or your integration in a community, anywhere, any community? So the community generally, one community specifically. Did it connect you with more people? Did it disconnect you? Your community can literally be us. But I mean, yeah, let's start with you, Bill. Talk about it.
Okay.
feels like
Yeah, how did the campaign
Well-
change you? He started with hair.
yeah.
That joke's gonna go on forever.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So I would say for me it was one, it was nice to meet people because I kind of just moved out here, right? Two, because I'd worked political campaigns in the past, I knew and I know and still believe very deeply. So if anybody listens to this and you just like you're sitting around one day and you're like, I want to understand where I'm at. I want to understand more about where I'm at. Volunteer for a political campaign.
Yep.
right?
Explain a little bit about where I'm at.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, when I was in Southern Illinois, I had a state legislator down there tell me that or say that you don't know a district until you go out and walk it and knock doors, and that's true.
Yeah.
You can work.
Yes, it is.
You can work in a district or a region for 20 years and go to your job and to your place and know nothing. I mean, there's let's just say not know nothing. But if you go work on a campaign, you're going to get a different perspective of where you live.
Oh yes.
You know, and
Yeah.
because what's this district? This one thing that so there's two assumptions I had when I moved out here, which was that Seattle's a liberal city, Actually, there's a lot of assumptions. I say 2, I say 3 sometimes. I just talk. But
numbers, who knows what's
Feels
up,
like
yeah.
C.
But the other one is that we know I knew we have big monopolies out here, right? So I want to come skip my eyes on it and see what that looks like, right? And it looks fucking rough. It
Yeah.
looks
Oh, yeah.
like tents on the street.
Yep.
And people acting like they don't know how they got there.
Yep.
That,
Oh, yes.
that-
Looking at you, Ari Hoffman.
Right.
Scourge of
Look at you,
District 2.
say
I thought
Seattle.
you were looking at me when
Seattle.
you said
Okay.
that. I was like,
So if you go look at Amazon share price from 2010 to now, it's like an exponential.
Oh, yeah.
And let me
It's
tell you,
almost a vertical
right?
line.
And let me tell you what that is. It's a bubble. And you want to know why it's a bubble? It's a bubble because of a business model, and this business model is unsustainable, and Jeff Bezos knows it.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's
He's
said that,
publicly
yeah.
stated, or privately stated, but got publicly
Right.
leaked. I think
Yeah.
that
I don't
his
Good.
quote about big companies like Amazon die before they're 35 or 30 years old. So he thinks that this company will be gone by 2035. Well, that means a lot for this area.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So my thing, so I don't go off on a tangent because I will tangent.
You
the
will.
You
fuck
get your
out of
own
It's what, we
segment
love,
for that.
it's what we love about Bill.
We're giving Bill his own segment for that. Don't
We
worry,
are,
man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how did it change you? How did all that exposure to the district change
sounds
you?
like it
or
gave him
connect you to the
perspective.
community?
Yeah, in the process.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
get perspective of the district, you get to meet good people. The campaign from organizational perspective was flat, which was
Right.
cool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So just kind of perspective,
Yeah.
meeting people, that kind of thing.
Game
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Corn?
Yeah. So for me, before I started on this campaign, I was working on Whole Washington's Yes on I-1600 campaign,
Hey.
which was awesome, but probably like 90% of the time it was just me like working from home, like not doing community stuff because they didn't have an office. Like volunteers were all over the state.
Yeah.
So this was like actually no, it was a change. I've worked in campaign offices before, but like this was like a community as soon as I came in.
Yeah.
Well, maybe like a day after I came in. Yeah, because
Yeah, like a day after
Troy
you got
found
there.
me by myself in a room texting or phone banking, and he's like, "Can you come hang out with us?" And I'm like,
Literally
"Yeah."
was like,
Yeah.
hey, you look smart and awesome.
Yeah,
You
and then
have been
so he's
here
like,
kicking butt. You
Come
wanna...
to the communications meeting and do this and do all the things.
That's code for
and-
drinking box
And
wine
you
in the office,
didn't
by the way.
skip a beat.
Well,
You dove right in. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
more. And
Right.
you're like, it was
and so yeah, just like getting out of my own space and connecting with other humans, like
Yeah,
face
yeah.
to face. Like I know that sounds really basic, but like it was huge for me. And I mean, yeah, we've all stayed super close after the campaign. And I think what was really cool about the campaign too, like Bill said, is like it was a flat structure and everyone was at the table. And I felt that from day one. So that was definitely like my biggest nice growth moment, I guess you could say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
yeah.
And Troy, what about you?
Yeah, the campaign meant a great deal to me. It was accidental.
There's a whole thing.
Jason, one of our phenomenal canvassers, stopped my place as in the midst of me juggling stuff around and trying to figure out some stuff. I was helping my brother open a business, and he started talking about issues that I cared about, and started talking about Sarah Smith, and I was like, I think I saw her when I was watching news at my grandma's at Christmas time.
The Fox News, yeah.
Yeah. What it was is the interview of you you were being interviewed, and I want to say, I don't know, what does Murder, She Wrote play on? I know it was at my grandma's house, right? It was like CSI
TV Land.
Seattle or something. TV Land or whatever. But it was like, it might have been like Q13 or whatever, but
Oh,
they
yeah,
were interviewing you
Q13.
outside.
Yes, that was Q13.
And at the time,
With
I
Simone.
reflect, and I was like, oh, that's great. But Jason hit me just right at the right moment. I had quite literally given up, and I was just like, nah, I just don't have anything, And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Okay, And me and a neighbor went over to the campaign offices and sat there looking around, and we saw Jacob, and Jacob was a volunteer. He is a person we're still, wildly in love with and still engaged. He always dressed impeccably.
Yeah,
I
so
thought he was in
nice.
charge.
He always wore like a full-on,
was dressed like it.
borderline
Yeah,
suit.
yeah.
Still does.
He
yeah,
dresses
yeah,
like a manager,
yeah.
but I
Well,
love it.
Don't they say something like you got to dress for the position you want,
Yeah.
not what you have?
One day I
Like,
saw him
just
come
jet
in with his
manager.
shirt unbuttoned. I was like,
General
casual
manager.
Monday. But I looked at him and I said, what are we doing? He's like, I don't know. I'm a volunteer. And I was like, okay. And I tried really hard not to be the guy that was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fill
started
the
shorting out.
vacuum. and I didn't for a minute. And then a couple days later was outreach and engagement, and it was amazing to me just to connect with such a diverse group of people around issues that were really important. It was an absolute revitalization of my spirit, and I don't mean to heap too much praise on Sarah just because it's uncomfortable for her. Maybe I want to do that. But Sarah, you were just a phenomenal candidate.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You
Thank you.
believe what you were talking about. And
Still do.
moments where, behind the scenes things were chaotic, and to have you get up there, I think about moments during debates. I think of moments where you got cameras on you, and our beloved friends from NHK are following us around, and tripping over bushes and popping all over the place. And the moment that I knew that I was in it was at a very small group gathering at one of the businesses, the
Columbia City Ale House.
Yeah.
Shout out.
And I saw you, and we talked, and you and I hadn't really connected, and I actually was giving you space because I didn't want to be one of those like,
Right.
hi Sarah, hi Sarah, hi Sarah, but I really wanted to. And you were like, oh, and you too, Troy, and you're here too, and I was like, she knows who I am. And after that, I just made some of the best friends of my life.
Yeah.
Now I have a key to your house.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We were on John Hodgman together.
We were. That's true. Victory is mine. Let me
it-
drink for my
It's
victory.
a shared
about that.
victory. I'd say I didn't report you
was.
Now,
for
here's a
tweeting.
question.
I was being nice to you.
Is his pretension a show, or is
It's
it
a
just
show.
is it just
A
a
total
product
show.
of who
It's
he
a character he
It's
plays.
a character. He's so
but
nice. He really is.
And
Such a sweet
he's got a
man.
kindness and a sweetness
Oh,
yeah.
and
I
a
bet.
wisdom that you're
Yeah.
just like, here we are just being jackasses.
Yeah.
And at,
That's
in
what
the
I-
midst of it, like Sarah and I are just like, you're my top 3 friend. I love you.
Nice, please, Toppy.
I even said, well, now I feel guilty. And John Hodge was like, okay, I guess we're done. Podcast over. But it was great. He was
That's
great.
awesome.
But yeah, no, you are remarkable, and to be able to be a part of that, to be able to help, to have those moments where you're like, I said a thing and then Sarah said it
Right.
later.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of like, I better watch what I fucking say.
Also, I hear you when you speak. Yeah,
And that
was the director I was hoping we'd go with that statement, but
that's what I mean. Like, but you were there for not just me, not just us, but everyone in
Yeah.
that way. Like
Thank
you have a deep care and concern that it continues to this moment. But I believe that's what continued to keep us together. Like the
Right.
cohesion we have is facilitated by who you were as a candidate, who you are as a human, and and plus we all like wine.
oh,
Yes.
that too. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm gonna mix it up. Instead of me going, Jay, do you want to give a quick breakdown of how you changed as a person?
That is a really big question,
I feel like Jay and I could do our own whole hour segment about that.
and I think we will. Just not. Why don't you go?
Okay, so, oh my God, it's a big one for me. I started out the campaign trail shy and unsure of myself, and I'm coming out of a background where I wasn't really told I could do anything. I wasn't really told my viability and my value lied in anything more than just birthing children. And that was a real subtle value that was present in my upbringing, and it caused a lot of friction for me. And anytime I would step up or try to take a risk or try to do something I wanted to do, I would always be shot down, or I would always be dragged back down through passive aggression, through a lot of stuff. And I took a real huge risk on the campaign because I was a background person my whole life. And everyone tells me, you're so natural in front of a camera. I have been I was a tech theater kid. Like I built sets. I didn't go on camera. I was like a little vampire in the rafters. Like that's what I did. I changed light gels. I didn't step up.
I just have a quick question. When you were going through this, these initial stages of, because I'm only asking this because I hope that there are a lot of other people across the country going and through this and grappling with this. How old were you when you were approached to run and thinking about running, and kind of like what were you thinking about? Because I mean, you just explained kind of. What
Yeah, I was about 28. I think I was freshly 28. Not fresh. It was like February. My birthday's May. It was like
Stale.
I was like going stale in my age of 28. And I was really lost. And I wanted to do more than what I was doing. I wanted to affect more change. I was tired of sitting and posting on Facebook. I wanted to volunteer more. I wanted to do more. And I actually started working more with women's groups like Ignite or Chick Tech, and just focusing on women's groups and being a Planned Parenthood defender and doing stuff for them. I volunteered with like Iskashita when I was down in Arizona. They work with refugees. And it was a great experience. I just wanted to do more. And then I got this phone call from Brand New Congress saying I'd been nominated. And I was like, I've been a background person my whole life. This is going to be crazy. And Jay and I talked about it for a little bit. And he's like, this is going to change our life. And I'm like, it is going to rock my freaking world.
Yeah.
And I just was given this baton of, hey, you're the next one to run against Adam. And it was a baton no one really physically handed me, or every community kind of was sketchy about me at first because I was dark horse. I came out of nowhere. And it really gave me a chance to find my own voice in my life. I was a lot more timid and a lot less willing to assert myself. I was much more likely to parrot somebody else's opinion. I'd keep my real thoughts to myself. I didn't really know how to do that, how to assert myself in a situation. And I always called myself very introverted. And as I started doing the campaign, it started putting me in a position of total discomfort. I was in front of crowds. I was in front of cameras. I was on podcasts. I was leading trainings. I was talking to people with this air of authority. People would come up to me and ask for my picture. I had people come up and be like, oh, can I take a picture with you? And I was like, can I take a picture with you? Like, this is,
and also speaking to some world
huge issues.
Shaking issues. Like,
and getting the chance to actually, all these thoughts that I'd had in my head about we need single-payer healthcare, I was finally in a position where people were relying on me to say it loudly and firmly and proudly. And I got the chance to do it.
You did it.
Right, because there's tens of millions of people out there who believe the same thing.
Yep.
Who believe the same thing you believe.
And it just, I mean, the campaign and like coming into the office every day and like seeing people when I'm gonna get teary. Well, seeing people like when I didn't believe in myself, to walk into an office full of people who were like, you were so good, you were amazing. Yeah. Like my first interview was Jimmy Dore, and Jay remembers when I came downstairs, he's like, how'd you do? I was like, terrible. Aww. And I literally laid face down on the rug at the bottom of my stairs and I lamented into the carpet fibers about how bad I was.
Campaign life usually goes a little bit like this. It's usually like Sarah saying, I hate myself today. And then Jay saying, that's great. Now we have 3 interviews to do in 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's kind of campaign life. He's like, I'm really, I'm struggling with anxiety and depression today. And everyone's like, oh boy, the cameras are here. And I'm like, smile and keep moving.
Did the thing.
And it was that moment in my life where I spent 2 years fighting back against all these preconceived notions that had been fed to me my whole life about how I was less than, how I couldn't do it, how I wasn't supposed to do anything, how I needed to get back in my lane, how I needed to just remember my place. And it was pushing back against that for 2 years. And now, woo boy, I am a totally different person. I am extroverted. I am out there. I have this community that I've built. I have this family that I've built of people. I was in the market for a new one. And so I got this one. And honestly, like I say it every single time, I would do it again. I would do it, the whole experience over again. I would absolutely go back and do it because I am so much happier and prouder and more confident in myself as a human being, not as a politician, not as somebody that does podcasts, not as somebody that does directing or leading or doing anything, but just as with my own self and my own spirit and my own inner peace. I am so much happier with who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I will say this too. Two things. One, from the first campaign picture to by the time I got there, I was like, what happened to Sarah's little sister? Little Sarah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got a
Sarah
divorce
Jr.
from my family.
you didn't age so yeah, that part, yeah. You didn't, it's not so much an aging, but this transformation that was just remarkable. You kind of went from I'm, doing a thing to I am going to gut you. I remember taking a picture.
Like, let's have a conversation to I will fight you in an alley with a broken bottle.
Yeah,
That's what I will do.
exactly. I am gonna pound this table, and so that was remarkable. The other, you did kind of go from sort of like very plucky, sort of running for high school president is kind of what it looked like, a picture, to stern librarian. Stern already elected woman.
It's kind of like I'm not really sure how I'm gonna like these politics and doing this stuff, but my opponent's evil.
Yeah, so
It
I'm
must
in
be
it.
defeated.
Always that
That's
steely
kind of-
gaze. But then there was
Kind of the switch I went through in my life.
But one thing that I think is really important, and I think it's a quality that we do not call out enough in leaders that we admire, is that there's a difference between, and I know that during the campaign there were folks who were very, very adamant about saying, oh, she's very bossy. Oh, you can't just boss
Proudly
people
bossy.
around. Here's the deal, though. Okay, you can say that, but you embody the values of servant leadership in the sense that we've all said it. It was a top-down opportunity for people to get in, to get their hands in the mix if they had it in them to do it. And you're not the kind of candidate nor friend nor leader that is like, do as I say, or you will do, like that's not who you are. That you have a passionate resonance in your voice around issues that are impactful to many, many people.
Right.
Isn't bossiness.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's not
passion.
like it is.
It matters.
It matters. So I think it's fun when we're like, oh yeah, she's the bossy bitch. That's fun to say.
I wear that badge. I'm
There's
proud of
a
that one.
reality, though, people who say that are ignorant,
Yeah.
Yep.
and that's not who you are.
But it looks like we are winding down on our discussion. So I, for one, just want to stop and say I love all of you very deeply. And I am so
Yeah.
excited to be on this podcast, vodcast.
We're doing it, friends.
Exciting media journey. Yay, team. And I think the best way to kick this off is with a competition to see who can create the most lifelike replica
Boom. Let me get
of the
this out of the
Democratic
way.
primary field. So this, I'm going to lay
So
out some ground rules. We are going to get a pile of magnets dropped on the table for anyone that's not watching the vodcast and is listening to the podcast. Troy's doing a dramatic opening so you can feel like you're here. We are going to take these magnets and a rogue Hello Kitty. And
Is that what that is?
I'm taking it. There's a different one right there.
Thank you.
And we're
is
going to
this?
try to make our best.
There's in mine there.
sculpture. I
there
don't know what is in here.
clue
So we've got some clue pieces.
in the dungeon with the
some
candlestick.
magnets, some Hello Kitties, and we are going to try to do our best to create.
Okay, so what are we doing now?
It's what we think the first stage of the Democratic primary platform debate is going to be. So when you get on stage for the first Democratic Party
Is this what
primary
you'll see,
debate,
or is it people?
So
it's
thi-
what you're going to see.
Just
people.
Just create what you
This
feel.
Create
this
your
one,
dream.
this
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry, that fell out of mine.
No, this is this is actually the hole. The hole in the center is
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg.
Ah.
Matt Stoller called
it is
him,
pronounced
the missing
Buttigieg,
guy.
by the
Yeah.
way. I did not know it was pronounced Buttigieg
the-
forever.
I
The
don't know.
favorite.
Okay.
What do you call it? An epithet?
Epithet, yeah, it's like a nickname.
Yeah, empty
I think.
Pete.
No, epithet is like
Isn't that like a
epitaph goes on the grave.
yeah, epithet is like a
is
nickname,
is
right?
like a
thing you're known
Epithet is like man killing Achilles.
Is that what we're going for with Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Why do I
Is it
feel like
Buttigieg?
epithet is a bad
Buddha
thing?
Judge.
Buttigieg.
Empty Pete.
Empty peep. And
that's,
I feel like I might be doing a little disservice to my gays,
sword.
but I gotta tell you, friends, I think he's a fine human being, but he's not my president.
Not my president. Oh God, these are so complicated to
I know, right?
use.
Okay, wait a minute. What are we doing again?
We're making what we
Making
think the
art.
first Democratic Party primary will look like.
Oh,
Or
I found
The
somebody.
stage at the first debate. Yeah, we're doing the stage of the first debate. I think now we're just adults playing with magnets.
Yeah, no, I found a person. That is going to be
I'm doing
Tulsi Gabbard.
Cool.
it. All right.
Okay, so this is supposed to be.
This is Hillary Clinton when she decides to run.
Oh no.
Which one is Joe Biden?
So
Oh.
no, I have him. So this is Joe Biden inappropriately kissing someone on the
Ooh,
on the
inappropriately
head.
touching
Yeah.
Is he like a
another
snake?
person.
He's
Yeah,
like
it's
a
like,
he's like a love leech.
Yeah.
I have got to level
Honestly,
with y'all.
Joe, just keep
I
your hands
kind
to
of
yourself.
What?
I kind of forget
don't know
who
what you're
is running
saying.
for president at this point. I don't.
I
I have
I'm
one.
right.
I do not recall.
I have one.
Bill's
candidate.
running.
I think we're
Bill's
all running
running.
as a unit.
Poopsie's running.
Yep.
Oh, I can't run because I've been. I am a judge. I guess I forgot
Oh.
the last election. I was elected to judge.
Oh yeah, we did. So all of us during the last election couldn't. Whenever someone runs unopposed, I don't believe in it. So if I didn't like the person that was running,
Yeah.
we all just started writing in Troy Hewitt.
There were some people who were just like, I don't know who these
Who's
judges
running
are or
for
what they do. I'm going to write in Troy. And I was like, that is irresponsible but hilarious. Don't try that at home.
What do you got, Bill?
This is Beto standing on things.
Oh hey, yeah, I made a
Beto, get off the
super.
goddamn
That's Beto because he's
thing.
really
he can't get
tall.
off of things. Beto just stands on
Beto
things.
just keeps climbing. I got this. This
and
is
shouts at this. Oh, Beto has this drab, it's just mind-numbing cadence. I was tired of that cadence in the Texas primary, man.
I wanna plug it into my white noise machine.
It's like
Yeah.
let me get in the cadence and say
I
fucking
actually-
nothing
I don't
or
remember
say
who
was
nothing
running for
forever.
president.
I really, really was looking forward to seeing what he had to offer. But he is,
He's a millionaire working for billionaires.
he's an
So-
I mean, I think that
establishment.
dude's father-in-law is a billionaire from what
I think
I've
he
heard.
is.
Yeah.
So this Hello Kitty with a sword that I can't make magnet to it is going to be Tulsi Gabbard, who is adorable, and I have a huge lady crush on.
More like
fighting against
Tulsi
the war
Gabbard,
industry.
Am I right?
Ayo, she's fighting against the war
Hey,
industry.
yeah, hey, Tulsi's legit.
This lobster monster is Klobuchar because she's
Wait,
a lobster
you actually
monster.
like created a something.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
did.
No,
Wow.
Guess who this is? Guess who this is?
Who's that?
That's Donald Trump.
I was about to say it's
Oh,
orange.
it's orange. I was like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be
Oh,
Democrats.
no,
Is that
my-
Nancy Pelosi? Can be both. They're interchangeable.
My weak flabby legs have fallen off. Oh.
I forget who's running for. Oh, this is Stephen Yang, and it's just because he's very nice and he's got corners that are
Poor
working
guy.
out.
What's up with the
but
white
he's just
supremacists chasing him
not
around
really,
as like supporting
not
him?
really moving on past that.
Well, one is because Yang has gone on those platforms, and two, well, I'm not against. So Bernie went on Fox, right?
Oh, I know.
That's a good.
Oh yeah,
You should
did
go
a good
on
job.
Fox.
I thought
I believe in it. I believe in my dreams.
people were upset about his response to earning money for writing books. I thought it was fantastic.
It is what you do when you write books, I guess.
you earn money. I mean, he's
and it's
an
like,
activist,
it's like,
not you
So
gotta eat.
this is Charles Schultz,
Oh, I
I
forgot
forgot
about
about
Charles
him.
Schultz.
Yeah.
the
Yes.
inventor of
That's-
peanuts
Oh, it's a
and,
straw.
and the venti straw.
Yeah.
Oh, the Trenta straw.
The Trenta straw.
Is Howard Schultz Mr. Peanut?
He is
He should be.
He is Mr. Peanut. He owns
Okay.
the peanut, Mr. Peanut, and he also invented peanuts.
No, that's Chuck or isn't that a different Schultz? Nah, I don't know.
Is that Howard? No.
It's a Schultz.
It's Howard Schultz.
Oh, Howard Schultz. I was
Charles
gonna
Schultz
just go
is
with
the-
it.
So
I was
I-
gonna just let it happen.
I can keep doing this joke.
So,
for
listeners
months.
and viewers, it is Howard Schultz who is running for
Yeah.
president.
And
Charles Schultz is the creator of the beloved family comic The Peanuts.
Yeah, Snoopy
Andrew
for
Yang.
vice president.
Yeah, and Andrew Yang.
And Andrew Yang, who is this
Not
creature. Oh, it's Andrew Yang. Did I call him Stephen Yang?
Yeah, it's
Oh
okay.
no, I wrote like that think piece I wrote. I put Stephen Yang. Someone probably edited it,
Oh my god.
or I
probably
just
would.
embarrassed myself.
We'll
That's
just take
fine.
another. Did you already
all right.
submit it?
No.
Oh, I was like, yeah. There's still time.
There's still time. I'll embarrass myself in other ways.
Word is that I'd heard that I didn't see the poll. I had a buddy tell me that Yang was polling above two or three of the corporate-owned Democrats.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
Harris, but Klobuchar,
Klobuchar's a
and
monster.
a few others.
Klobuchar is a monster, and
Yeah.
she should feel bad.
The Yang, I'm telling you, I'm a
This-
Bernie guy, but the Yang campaign is going to be It is
Yes.
interesting as hell.
Andrew Yang. This weird-looking little device thing. Hello. This is
Oh.
Kristen Gillibrand, and it's because it looks confusing and a little vaguely
I
threatening,
thought
but
it was
you don't know why.
Gilston Krylabland.
Kristen Gillibrand.
Is it? It's not
Gillibrand.
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 It was.
Is it Gillibrand?
Don't know.
I
I think
don't
I think
care.
it's called "Ain't Getting Much Money from Small Donors."
That's what it is. That sounds right. to
I
me.
am. Yeah. Oh, no joke.
This is
Speaking of no small donors,
Ew.
are you going to talk about?
What did you make, Corn?
I made so this is Kamala Harris dragging parents away from their children for
Oh.
truancy, taking them into jail.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, and up
I
on
thought you were going in
Twitter.
a
I
different
love
direction,
it.
sis. I thought you were going to be
Yeah.
like, "Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Inslee, and I'm made of recycled garbage because my platform is
If that could just
alive."
have a smile, like a euphoric smile on it, the way that she had when she was talking
Well, 'cause
about.
she was smoking weed. She
That's-
smoked a puff
Listen
or
to
two.
some Snoop
Probably that
Dogg
she
and just
confiscated
sending
from
homeless
someone's
parents to jail.
farm.
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
it was effective, right?
I
I mean,
think-
the kids started going to school. So.
They absolutely did not. They're like, "Hi, child
Yeah.
who is
Still smoking pot behind the theater.
right." Yeah. Hello, child who needs medical attention at all
Right.
times. You can't go to school. Well, guess what? Mom's in jail.
Yeah,
Now mom is in
or
jail.
as DL Hughley
Single
said,
parent is jailed.
because he I think grew up where she was a DA or close to it, and he's like, yeah, I miss school sometimes because I had to walk through gang neighborhoods, and some days I just didn't want to get beat up.
Right?
And here's Kamala
Yeah.
Harris, like, oh yeah,
If she would
gonna
have just
sit-
come out and said,
She carries hot sauce in her purse. Would that have helped?
man, that's what she did. When she came out, she was like, I will humanize myself with condiments and weed.
So I think we have a pretty good representation of the
didn't
Democratic
It's the
primary,
clusterfuck of
and
the-
that's what it will really look like.
Democratic
We didn't really get it too much into Jay Inslee, but I suppose we can do that later.
Oh,
What-
we
actually,
will. Don't
She's
worry.
like, Green New
Let's
Deal,
just
the Me New
coming.
Deal.
Let's just wait till he breaks 1%.
I'd like to see a really,
coming.
like a really weak fist fight between him and Charles.
Ooh, yes, to determine
Charlie Schultz.
who is the new CEO of Starbucks. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
Howard.
Charles Schultz, but Charles Schultz, though.
Howard, yeah.
Not Howard Schultz, definitely Charles.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give everyone a quick thank you for listening and thank you for being
Yeah.
a part of our general
that's so
weirdness and
crazy.
heated discussion.
It'll get weirder and better.
This has been our very first maiden voyage of the Great Ship Better Left podcast.
Toot toot.
We are also going to be launching later on a Twitch channel, and we are going to be launching a written form of media as well. So you can both read some stuff, listen to some stuff, watch some stuff. We have a second podcast set that's going to be coming up with a bunch of different discussion pieces.
Yeah.
There's going to be another one that's going to launch even later on in May. It's going to focus on pop culture and politics.
Boom.
And I urge you all to tune into next week's episode, which is going to have an interview with Jay and our guy Randy, who is big in the MMT movement. We're going to talk a little bit about MMT.
Nice.
And until then, you
Modern
know,
monetary theory.
modern
for those
monetary
who are,
theory for those who aren't educated in the
Modern
slang
magnet
term.
theory. See, look.
Modern mantis theory. It's all about bugs. But he will
Mayonnaise.
be here giving us a great discussion segment, so you should definitely tune into that. And in the meantime, get behind your small grassroots campaigns.
yeah.
Join up with your local DSA, your local SA. Help out Whole Washington if you can.
Get off Facebook, get off Twitter, get in the streets.
Get off social media and get into the streets and do some stuff. Make
Yeah.
sure you're also following Brand New Congress on Twitter and Justice Democrats on Twitter because they are two amazing organizations that helped me in my campaign, and I want to make sure that you are watching them so you can help other folks who are running grassroots campaigns just like ours. And as always, thank you for listening. Keep rejecting corporate PAC money. This has been the Better Left Podcast because
Bye.
sometimes it's better left to you.
Sorry.